Welcome back to another episode of Life's Ambition Podcast. Today we're joined by someone who inspires everyone around him. He's going to share his input on becoming a bishop. Without further ado, Bishop Kevin Foreman. So Bishop Foreman, how you doing today, man?
You know what? I'm doing amazing. It's a great day. I treat every day like it's a jackpot. Like I just hit the lottery and it's a million, it's a billion, it's $1 trillion day. I view every day through those lenses that it's an opportunity to compete with yesterday's version of myself. So I'm feeling good. How you feeling?
I feel great. I think that's a great message. So at work, I work at ACOM, and it's what I do there is like GIS related, which is basically like digital map making. And in this background, I had this code going for a really long time. And I don't know if you've experienced this recently, but it took me so long to figure it out. And then when I did, it was just the most satisfying feeling. Not sure if like you've had an experience like that before where you've done like coding or just like a big obstacle like that. And then over time, you're like, boom, it's done. We're good to go.
Listen, that's like every day for me. So it's always something, right? I've been, the joke is I came out of my mom's womb with a Bible and a briefcase. So I have had my hands in both business and success, entrepreneurial things all my life, and then spiritual things all my life, and church and ministry. And so I've always sat in the seat of leadership. So like that's the whole goal of being executive, is that you have to execute. Things have to get done. The stuff that comes to you is the stuff that nobody else either had the authority to handle or had the aptitude to handle. And so that's like every day. So it's literally, I can think of yesterday, and I had some time free up on my calendar. I had some things that needed to get cleared out from like a month ago. And it was a pretty big project because it required me to review data and statistics. And of course, we love data and statistics and all of that. So I had to review all of that, but I got a lot of it done. And so it was the most one of the most accomplishing feelings that you can have, because I said, got it done.
Well, you're an extremely successful individual. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You've written many books before. You even have your own songs, which I think is super cool. And I just kind of want to know, where did this mindset all start for you? Like, when did you know you wanted to become a bishop, and when did you know you want to become an entrepreneur itself?
Yeah, amazing question. So, I never really knew that that's particularly what I wanted to do. So I had a plan. My plan was I was going to go into law. I started my first business when I was 12, as I mentioned. So, and that's the same year I got into ministry as a musician. So I had a plan. I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get, focus on politics, political science, more particularly, and business administration. Go into business, from business pivot to law, from law into. I had a plan that I was going to do a judgeship. And then I was eventually going to run for some type of elected office. That was my plan. When I was 16 years old, there's an interview of me on UPN, which was a pretty popular TV network years back. And I was going to, they did a bunch of like segments where they were featuring teenagers from different cities. And so they featured me. And I said, I'm on camera saying I want to be the United States of America's first Black president. Of course, President Obama beat me to that. And but that was my goal. So I had it all planned out at 16, what I wanted to do. And that is not how the plan went. Totally different. Coming up, I grew up and I was born in Denver, but raised in Memphis, Tennessee. And this particular part of Memphis called Orange Mound, which immediately following the times of slavery in America, it was one of the many that they call Black Wall Street. So it was a bustling area. It was very successful. People did really well. And then, as was systemic and intentional in those days, those areas were systematically shut down, wiped out, vaporized. Things were done to intentionally shut down productivity. And so when you do that, you end up with an environment and an area where there's crime, there's issues, there's gang violence, there's all these different types of things. So coming up in that, I had to make a choice early on that I was going to do different and be different. And sometimes the gift that we're given is not what to be, but what not to be. Sometimes we look at life as, man, why didn't I get this? And instead, you got something even greater. I should not do this. I should not be this. This is showing me what not to do. you've heard the phrase, experience is the best teacher. I believe
Hmm.
somebody else's experience is the best teacher because all I have to do is read the notes. And now, in this generation, the time we live now, chat can summarize the notes. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't even have to read the notes. I can get the summary with bullet points and it can be emailed to me in the morning. Like,
Hmm.
so I just was different. I was a different kind of kid. I was the type of kid that, I was grading my classmates' papers because I gravitated towards leadership and teachers and people in power. That was the leader in me that was looking for a match. And I didn't find that match around others that were my, classmates and things like that. I didn't find that match. And I think that's many people. Sometimes you're looking for, now everybody says, where are my tribe? Who are my people?
Hmm.
Often the reality is it takes a minute to really find that because part of it is you're discovering and finding you. What do you like? What do you do? What do you gravitate to? And
Yeah.
so I was the type of kid, talking to my teachers, like counseling them at lunchtime. Like I'm 11 and 12 and 13, but I've been there talking to my teacher and encouraging them. And, like it was just different. I was just different. And I learned not to demonize my difference. And so you fast forward 12, I start my first business. 12, I get into ministry. And by 21, I built Denver's largest Black-owned mortgage company. And early, I got ordained in the ministry pretty early. I started as a drummer at 12 and on a church staff. So I was the youngest kid to, well, not just youngest kid, I was the youngest person to be on a church staff at 12 playing drums. When I started, I was horrible. I couldn't keep the beat. I'd speed up real fast, slow it down. It was like, what's the beat gonna be today? We're gonna find out, y'all.
I don't know
But I,
how people can move their hands and feet at different rhythms. That's just beyond me. I tried drumming a few times,
okay,
and eventually I'm just moving everything at the exact same time. It's
right,
like kind of when you like pat your
right,
head and rub your belly. It just can't
right,
do it.
right. Listen, it's a thing. And let me tell you why I got my drum set. I got my drum set. I tried trombone, trumpet, saxophone. I didn't like any of them. And my stepfather was a musician, so he wanted me to do something musically. So a friend of mine, he and I were very competitive. He got a drum set. And so when he got this drum set, I said, well, I want a drum set. And he said, well, you can't play drums. And so I'll teach myself. This is like you did the sax and the trombone and the trumpet and all that. I
Hmm.
said, well, this is going to be different. And it was because I stuck with it. And when I stuck with it, I got good. Eventually, years later, I would play other instruments and was inducted into the Colorado Gospel Music Hall of Fame, which is a
Whoa!
great honor.
Congratulations.
Didn't even know. Thank you. Didn't even know we had a gospel music Hall of Fame, and so that was a great honor. But it's one of those things of where you have your plans, and I believe that they're a great place to start. But what I've discovered about life is that for me, God will take those plans, shake them up, toss them around, put them over here, and then you got a whole nother thing. But it's so much, it's so rewarding to do the thing that you're created to do. I wouldn't know another life not doing the things that I was created to do.
Yeah, and I'd love to hit on something that you mentioned a little bit ago of other people's experiences
Hmm.
kind of shape where you're going to be. I think that's
Hmm.
super important
Yeah.
because when for me, when I was in school, the way I found out what I wanted to do was learning from other people.
Hmm.
And it takes a second to kind of like find out what you're going to do. And it takes a second to
Hmm.
find that group, kind of like you were saying.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's all about kind of navigating the world. Like I probably talked to like 100 different individuals. And it wasn't until I really like talked to my uncle about what GIS is before I got to figure out what I wanted to do. And
Hmm.
so when you said that you're counseling some of the administrators, it kind of sounds like that was your calling in a sense of,
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
like talking with people. I like working with people. I like
Yeah.
kind of falling through this avenue.
Yeah.
And I think having your own ministry and especially being inducted to the Gospel Hall of Fame, I think that's so cool. Like how do you even do that? Or like how do you get noticed to go into the Gospel Hall?
That's just it. I didn't know there was one. And I think there's a powerful lesson there. Sometimes you're being watched and you don't know who's watching you.
Mhm.
Sometimes people are observing what you're doing and you think what you're doing is going overlooked. It's not overlooked. It's often it's just part of your development. Because all those years I just put my head down. I was just getting things done. I was just working. I was just knocking it out. I
Yeah.
didn't realize there was a whole board of people who were following up and watching and looking at what I do and looking at how I perform and looking at what's happening, I didn't realize that that's the world that I was in and what was going on. And so consequently, I think the same thing is true as it relates to, everyday life. Is sometimes you don't know who's watching you to reward you, who's watching you to get permission from you. Like, even I'm
Yeah.
listening to what you do, you don't know who's watching what you're doing, and you're giving them permission, not verbally but non-verbally, to be who they are, to
Hmm.
be different, to do things different, to pursue different things. So I salute you even for the podcast and what
I
you do,
appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
because yeah, right, because it's conversations create catalysts for transformation. Like big doors swing on small hinges, and sometimes it's that small conversation, it's that small thing that you're like, doesn't even matter. Ooh, you only eternity is going to be able to tell
Hmm.
what you did and how many people you impacted just being you.
One of the things I live by is I love to live my life with, I want to do everything I can now versus like looking back on it later on saying, I wish I did this and
Yes. Oh, I
stuff.
love that.
And with the lessons that you've learned, who do you attest that to? Do you attest that to your parents, or do you attest it to like past culture? I know you talked about kind of where you grew up. It
Yeah.
was very a vibrant Black community,
Yeah.
and um, that there was a lot of business going on. And I know that was kind of like a catalyst, it
Yeah.
sounds like, for growing up for you. Who do you attest your success and your drive and determination?
Amazing question. So I think it's a combination. I think one of the top places that I immediately go to is my mother. My stepfather was an abuser. He was a womanizer. He was a lot of things of what not to be. So growing up in that environment, several things happen. One, you become very parentified. So you become this protector and very paternal. I saw myself as having to protect my mom, needing to protect my brother and sister. I was never asked to, but it was just something that came up in me. And again, that's back to that leader. It awakened something. And sometimes pressure produces purpose. You don't know what's in you unless you put pressure on it. Think of toothpaste. Everybody's got toothpaste. Everybody's seen toothpaste. Most of us are used to the little tubs of toothpaste. You'd think at some point we'd have a more effective way to get toothpaste, but that's the way that we have it. And think about it. You don't really know all of what's in there until you start putting pressure on it. And that pressure makes what's in it come out. Same is true in life. So coming up that way, it produced a lot of things. It showed me to be resilient, because we would move around a lot because of my stepfather and what he had going on and what he was doing. And so in doing that, it really gave me a freedom to learn how to be resilient, how to begin again, how to start over from scratch. And so these would be all principles that I would use in business, that I would use in ministry. Is that you can drop me in anything and I can turn it into everything. And I don't say that arrogantly. It's just a set of skills that was developed that really set my mind, because your question was about mindset. Your mindset is simply the way that you set your mind, or you set your way to see things, handle things, approach things. And that's what happened for me. And so my mom would be a huge influence on that. And then as a kid, I learned that you could get mentorship, and you didn't necessarily have to be in direct communication with people. So I would watch. I remember there's a pastor used to come on Friday nights on TV, and here I am. Remember, Bible in a briefcase, come out the womb. So I'd watch him on Friday nights. And it'd be so crazy that people in the house would say, the Rev is watching Reverend Price. That was the pastor's name. And that's what they call him, Reverend. It's like an old school Southern term they'll use for pastor, Reverend. And they said the Rev, they were talking about me. They said the Rev is watching Reverend Price. The Rev is in here. And they saw it. They were speaking it. They saw
Yeah,
what I obviously could not see. So, there was a strength there. There was a love there. My mother's is a very loving woman. In fact, I'll even show it to you. And she's an interior designer among several other things. And in this room, we were changing some things out in this room, and so she sat down at my desk and then wrote me a little note and saying "love you,"
that's
and then
awesome.
put it on my sticky stack. But that love gave me the ability. Seeing that type of love gave me the ability to give that type of love to people. So I think if I was to answer the question in a succinct way, everything that I've been through, whether it was good or I deemed it bad at the time, It was all producing a purpose-filled, progressive, productive person. And I feel like I'm just getting started. I do not sure there's been a lot of great accomplishments, but the way I view life is like I'm just scratching the surface. I haven't even started, is the way I view it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you had that childhood growing up, but I guess it sounds kind of twisted at the same time because I'm also thankful that you had the childhood because it's
Yeah,
kind of like you said, it's that pressure has produced the person you are
yeah,
today.
yeah.
And I guess what kind of advice would you give people that are in something like that? Because, they can think about it as one way of, oh, the pressure's molding me to the person I am today.
Mhm.
But I guess some people might not always have that mentality. And so it can be really hard for them to kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Right, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things that there's this Bible verse, and it says, "As a man thinks in his heart, which means mind, so is he." So the principle is this: you are what you think, because you'll eventually produce what you think. So mindset is all 100% fully controllable by us. Sometimes we'll say, well, I can't help how I feel. You may not be able to help how you feel, but you get to determine what that feeling makes you do.
Mm.
I remember, growing up and sometimes having these intense feelings of hatred, quite honestly, towards my stepfather, because I was like, look at what you're doing to my mother. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like you. Um, and I was able to reset my mindset. And I think for those that might be watching or listening, like, okay, I'm going through something difficult. I'm experiencing something difficult. Like this, this sucks. I don't like this. Like, what's happening? Like, when is it going to get better? You get to control your mindset. So you get to keep every unproductive thought you want, or you get to turn those into productive thoughts. That's a choice. That is not being done to you. That is a choice that you have. And so I would say to anybody that's in that space, I know what it is to be there and feel like you're a victim and feel like, what can I do to control this? But you get to control your mindset. No one else can control your mindset. Doesn't matter if they drop you on an island and it's just you, or you're in the middle of Times Square in New York City and it's tens of thousands of people around you. You get to control your mindset. So I would say, start with saying, what thoughts are going to make me productive?
Yeah.
Let's say a relationship doesn't work out. That happens. Now you're gonna take it's gonna not feel good. You're gonna feel like, oh my God, what happened? What can I do? You're gonna go through those feelings. Then you're gonna say, now what am I gonna do? Am I gonna stay in this place of negativity and woe is me and I'm a victim and I can't believe this happened? Or am I going to say, let me learn from that? Because if I learn from it, it's not really loss, it's growth. It's all in mindset. Shift your mindset, and you get to control that. Nobody else gets to control your mindset.
And is that the message that you give a lot at your congregation, if that's the correct term,
Yep.
or people that come to you that look for advice? Because I think that's super powerful, where
Mhm.
people can get very lost in the victim mentality of like, why is
Mhm.
this happening to me? This is
Mhm.
being done to me. This person has the greatest things going on for them,
Mhm.
which may not be the case,
Right.
but because I think social media has given this perception of all these people have all these great things going on,
Right.
but what about me?
Right. Yep.
And
Yep.
so you have to be productive with it. And so I love to know, are a lot of people coming uh, with these thoughts to you at your congregation? Is this one of like the common themes that you might see with people seeking guidance or help?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I coach. So there's so many things we do. We've got the church, then we've got, we're like hybrid church in buildings and online, which has been amazing to see. We've got a Bible college, we got a leadership network, we've got one-on-one coaching that I still do with people, a community of coaching we're getting ready to launch, that allows me to do it in a much much more efficient way. Although I still love
Nice.
one-on-ones, because to me that's like it's like going to see your doctor. It's very different when you kind
Yeah.
of Google something and I'm experiencing these symptoms. What should I do? That's one thing. It's a whole nother thing when you go see your doctor. And so that's why I love
Hmm.
doing the one-on-ones. No matter how full my schedule gets, I still make time for those. And many times, for most people, what it is, the word therapy means to heal. And for most people, therapy, counseling, coaching, for the sake of this conversation, let's just lump all those together. For most people, it is one, they needed a safe place to be able to articulate what they've been experiencing. Just got to get it out. The second thing for most people is that it's not even that it's some light bulb of what to do. It's almost like they needed the permission to do it. They
Mm.
needed the permission to view it a different way, handle it a different way, process it a different way, look at it a different way. So what I've discovered is that, most of us, it's the same set of things that appear in a different way. It's the same, like humanity basically boils down to the same sets of issues. You've got finances, you've got family, you got fitness, you got future, you got some form of like,
Yep.
it all boils down to the same things for everybody. Now there's
Hmm.
nuance, but it really boils down to the same thing. And so my message is generally always one of empowerment, generally always one of, you've got the ability to overcome, you've got the ability to process and to fight through. Because I think so many times there's this belief and there's this thought that, well, I can't, things have happened to me, things have gone wrong in my life, what am I supposed to do about this? And if I was to sum it up in one phrase, life isn't happening to you, life is happening for you.
That's a
That
beautiful
mindset
phrase.
shift changes everything. Now, how you say that, there's a million ways you can say it. And I say it like, I basically say that message a different way 2 or 3 times a day on social media and posting, whatever. But that's
Mm.
basically the message. If you boil it all down in terms of the self empowerment component of it, there it is right there.
And the fact that you said that you have to phrase it 2 to 3 different times, that's just because it probably resonates, or different words resonate with
Hmm.
different people.
Hmm.
And is that how you kind of create a safe environment for people to be able to confess these things to you? Because I
Oh,
find it probably very hard to build that following
yeah.
in the first place. And then two is to be able to have them confide.
Yeah.
Because in a one-on-one setting, obviously things are probably a little bit, awkward at first. It's like, oh, what do I say? Like I have all these things going on. But
Right.
how do you do that? How do you create that safe place? How do you build that, or how did you build that following to where you have like Bishop Foreman Day? Is what I was saying.
Yeah, yeah. Which is a great honor, right? I mean,
Mhm.
so the mayor of Denver made October 16th, which is 2 days before my birthday, Bishop Foreman Day, and then a couple of years later, City of Aurora, which is a suburb there of Denver, there in Colorado. They stepped in and also matched that so that it was the same in both
Awesome.
areas, and it was a great honor, still a great honor to this day, to have a day named after you in the city. I was expecting the key to the city that we sometimes hear about. I didn't get a key; they don't give keys to the
Ah.
city. But I said, that's okay. I'll take this beautiful plaque, and that's amazing. But again, a great honor for me. They call me the People's Bishop, and I think one of the reasons for that is because I create atmospheres where it's safe to be you. It's safe to be you. One of the things I love, and this may sound crazy, but some people are. Let me say it this way. Some people can be very colorful with their language. How about that? And one of the things I love is when, because we reach a bunch of different people, church people,
Mm.
unchurched people, so people never been in church, de-churched people that were in church, fell out of church, people who are struggling. I was doing a show yesterday with an individual. She was talking about she was in church for years. She walked away from church, and I like to create environments where it is safe to be you, to be where you're at, because we're all in development, we're all in process. One-on-ones for most people, it may start that way for them in the first 60 seconds. Oh, but by 2 minutes in, they got the box of tissues and they're ready to go, or whatever. They're
Yeah.
fired up. People who maybe, they use, as I mentioned, colorful language, zero judgment. And when they'll do that, and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't." I said, no, 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 no. Be you. It's okay. You're in a safe space. I'm not here to judge you. I want to help you get to where you're going.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see how it disarms people. And so the people who I lead are people of every background, every race, every socioeconomic background, people who are connected to me. I look at our social media following sometimes, I'm like, it's all over the place. It is not. It is not a monolith. A lot of times in data, you're looking at what's the avatar, what's the ideal person you're reaching, and the truth is, it's all over the place. Which I think is a good thing because to me, it's important that I create an environment where you feel safe,
Mhm.
where you can be you. Because I believe this: you will never heal if you can't be real.
No, no,
Yep.
because you're definitely still holding up walls. And how did you like develop this following? Was it through social media at first? I
Mhm.
know obviously the gospel
Yeah.
was when you were really young and then that switched into ministry. Did you
Yeah.
find people that were following you with the gospel come when you started doing ministry? Or was it social media based, like I mentioned, or
Yeah.
anything along those lines at all?
Yeah, yeah, what? So I used to do a lot of like traditional TV when that was a thing, and it's so crazy because I used to say when people say, "Oh, watch it on YouTube, watch it on YouTube," I was like, "YouTube." I saw it on social media, like social media. I was like, like I was a cable TV person. Like I had cable TV. I had satellite, type of thing. When you had
Yeah.
satellite, direct TV, and Dish Network, or whatever. So, like that was the thing. And I did a lot of traditional TV. So I was used to the traditional lights, camera, action. You got your person coming to get the oil off your face, and put a little powder on you and make sure you're not too oil. Like I was used to that. And of course, social media came, and I was like, okay, well, we got to use social media. And so I'll be honest, I kind of was I won't say against it, but I was just like, and it's what I said. I was like, well, I'm a real pastor. I'm not doing that social media stuff. I'm a real pastor. Like, I'm a real pastor. I got real things to do. Not realizing like this is the new way to reach people, and you better
Yeah.
jump on it. And so we did a lot of that early on with streaming, and back when streaming was really expensive. Like you had to buy these huge encoding computers. You may know about these huge encoding computers and
Hmm.
and all of that. And that was super expensive. Like now anybody can stream virtually for free, predicated on how you're doing it. That
Yeah.
was not the way back then. You had to get the big encoder. You had to do all of this, and it was just it was a cumbersome process to do it. But I realized we got to do this early on because if we don't, um, we're going to miss so many people that we have the opportunity to reach. Long story short, we did a lot of that early on. So we built, and grew. And Denver is 46 out of 50 for lowest church attendance in the nation. So we knew we couldn't just focus on the area there. We had to expand beyond that.
Yeah.
So, we got to social media, started doing it again. I was still a little hesitant. I'm a real pastor. And, and it wasn't dismissing social media. It was just sometimes you can have the same thing can be both a sword and a shield.
Mhm.
Um, and for me, advancement and innovation was that sometimes. Like it was a sword and a shield. Like sometimes like, no, I don't want to do that. We want to protect what we're doing. And then I was like, well, no, let's advance, type of thing. And
Yeah.
so we
Change is
eventually,
hard.
yeah, exactly. And so we did it. And I remember, we were growing, and then our social followings were really improving pretty dramatically. And then it just kind of flatlined, particularly on Instagram. And I said to a friend of mine who was doing really well, he said, I said, what are you doing? We were having a burgers at a spot not too far. We've moved our headquarters to Atlanta, so I'm branding to Atlanta. We're going to do a location here. And so in that, we were like, well, I don't know. Let's just go eat. And then let me ask, what are you doing? And he just said, I just get on my phone and just talk. I said, no, 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 no. What are you doing though? I was like, so who's pushing it? Or like, how are you getting the reach that you do? Because, I know
Yeah.
your background. I know where you started. So like, what's the company you're working with? Who you working with? No, I just get on my phone and talk. And he had an Android too. And so I was like, you can't tell me like I
No
have this
special
whole
camera or
Apple,
anything.
nothing special. I'm like, that's it. And he was like, yeah, that's it. And so I left the conversation so disappointed and simultaneously so encouraged. Like I was both
Yeah.
at the same time. I was
Yeah.
like, it's nothing to it. Just get on the phone and talk. And at the same time, I was like, okay, well, if he can do that, I could do that. I mean, because I was sitting around 50,000. I've been sitting there for like a year and a half, 2 years. It would get to the point to where I would not even want to look at my Instagram. I'm like, I don't even want to look at it. I gave it to my assistant. I just said, do something with it, post some stuff. Just do. I don't even want to be bothered with it because I'm a real pastor. I don't have time to be out here in these social media streets doing that.
Yeah.
So I was on a flight to go to Chicago, and I was like, let me try what he said. And so the flight's getting ready to board. I pick up my phone, talking to the camera. I'm like, this is crazy. And you know how when you're around a plane, you know, you're not talking or, you know,
Mhm.
getting ready to board, you kind of, you know, talking a little bit lower. At least I do. Talking a little bit
Oh
lower,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
type of thing. You're not, hey, I don't know, you know, super loud. You know, you're talking kind of low. So I do this video and you know, I talk, it's 30 seconds. I do it real fast. You know, the angle's kind of awkward because I'm looking down at it and trying to
So like
look
no one's
around.
looking at you.
Don't want you know, them to come over the PA and say, you know,
Yeah.
now boarding, da da da. And so I look down and I do the video, and the airline I was flying didn't have great Wi-Fi. So I was like, I better get this video posted before I move forward. And long story short, I post a video, I land, that thing's got like 40,000 likes. And I'm like,
Whoa.
all I did was look at the phone and talk. I said, you got to be joking. Because remember, I come from traditional TV. So I'm used to nice
Mhm.
little thirds, nice intros, and nice outros, and theme music and jingles and stuff. Like, I'm used to all of that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just did this little video on this camera phone. I didn't even use the back camera. Like, I'm using the front camera. That's like 720. Like, this did it.
Mhm.
And from there, it's just been amazing to see. I think we've grown now. We'll probably hit and combined followings likely by the end of this year over 1 million across
Congrats. That's awesome.
platforms, which is great. There's so many more people that need to be reached, but it's one of those things where, like, you know, had you told me that, I would have said, no, no way. I'm a real.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how much it resonates with people if you're just slightly real. Like,
Right,
obviously that 30-second video, it's probably as real as it gets. You're on a plane. That's what most people do in the world.
right.
You're taking a flight to a big city. That's what
Yep,
most people do in the world.
yep.
And so if you're just real in those circumstances, it can go a long way.
No way, which is crazy to me. And I love what you said, because sometimes the thought was, you know, again, coming from my background, and this is, I love what you said, change can be difficult because that background gave me a mindset. So I had to reset the mindset, because
Hmm.
I had confirmation bias. Everything I saw was reinforcing what I believed instead of letting what I saw inform what I believed. And so, you know, I'd see something, I see, this is why I'm a real pastor. This is why I'm a regular pastor versus saying, you know what? There's a whole nother way to reach people, and there's a whole nother way to tap into the lives of people. And it's been amazing to see because I run
Yeah.
into people every place I go. There's no place I go where somebody doesn't come over, or, you know, they'll message me after and say, I saw you over there eating. I saw you over there doing this. I was like, you know, whatever. And their lives are being impacted. I was at Pizza Hut the other day picking up a pizza because I said, I got to eat because we were getting ready to do this fast. And so I said, I got to eat something. I have a thing for stuffed crust pizza, and specifically from Pizza Hut. It's my thing.
Hey,
And
no issues
listen,
there.
I'll dip it in marinara, and
Yeah.
I'll eat the first three pieces, and then I just carve the toppings off of the other, and then just put it's. I have a whole thing,
Nice.
and so I'm standing there. A lady comes in. It's kind of snowy in Atlanta, which is crazy in the first place, and she says, I know you. Are you an actor? I was like, I acted in some stuff, but probably nothing that, you know, it's been a minute, probably nothing that you've seen. She said, okay, okay. Are you a celebrity? And and then she kept asking, she said, you're Bishop Foreman. I follow you. And so, you know, or I'll be in the gym, somebody will turn their camera around and walk up to me and show me a video of me. I'm like, that's me, that's me, that's me. And they'll tell me, you have no clue how you helped me get through my divorce, how you helped me get through this.
Wow.
They'll say, I wait daily for you to post. And I'm like, what has he got for me today? What does he want
Wow.
to say to me
That's
today?
awesome.
And hearing that impact, oh my God, it's an incalculable inspiration because you
Yeah.
never realize how powerful that is.
Yeah, there's a similar person that like I follow. His name is David Goggins. Not sure if you're
Yeah,
familiar
yeah.
with
And
him.
people say I look like him all the time. I didn't know who he was until they said that. No shit up. Yeah.
Yeah, but he says all the time of like there's always someone that comes up to him and is like, "Hey, like you're a really big inspiration
Mhm.
for me." And it makes him want to go out and run or keep working out or doing something the next day. And then
Mhm.
obviously his like famous quote of like stay hard at the very end of every video he
Ah,
says. But I'm sure it does the same thing for you as well
yeah.
of hey, I just got this great compliment. It's giving me this like dopamine boost. Like I will be there for this person tomorrow. And it holds you accountable because people are listening to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it causes you to really recognize, money is important, right? You need money to live. But at some point, your life has to measure success beyond money.
Hmm.
Because I think that if money is the only thing a person has to say they're successful, they're a very poor person. Money is only one factor. And I say that and I bring that up because many people, they value their success based on money, based on the things that they have. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But there has to be more than that. And I
Yeah.
think that's an important lesson for us all to take away is success has got to be more than just what you got. Success at some point has to be what am I giving to other people? Because when you leave the earth, you're not taking that money, you're not taking your
Nope.
car, you're not taking your home, you're not taking any of those things. What you get to take is the impact that you left in the earth. And to
Yep.
me, I want that to matter.
And that's exactly why I do this is there's a lot of kids that are unsure of what they want to do when they grow up. I know
Mhm.
obviously like the rare cases now are people like yourself who already kind of knew that trajectory. And I have friends that just graduated college and after a year they're already switching their career entirely. And
Mhm.
so if I can expose them to what's out there, maybe that'll inspire someone to pursue it, not take out as much money for school or anything like that, and then live the life that they want to live versus being unhappy at their career because a career
Yeah.
is a big chunk of your life. And so
Yeah.
might as well do everything you can to just kind of be happy. And like you said,
Yeah.
in the end, money is very much only a small part. What the impact you leave is very
It's a
much
big impact to it. Yeah. And I love one of the things you said earlier is like do everything that you can. And I think that's so many times we live with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And then say, why am I not going anywhere? And I think often it's because of these own back to mindset, these internal brakes that we put on ourselves. Well, I can't do that. Why not? I can't do this. Well, not. Well, I've been through this. Well, not. Well, I have this issue, have that. And that's one of the things that, believe it or not, it's much easier to be that way after you've experienced some successes. Like, again, coaching people and leading people and mentoring people of every background. I've noticed that sometimes people who maybe haven't accomplished as much yet, however they want to rank or view accomplishment, they sometimes have a let's go mentality.
yeah.
Sometimes people who have succeeded at something or had accomplishments, they can sometimes be their own, like referee. Nah, flag on the play, can't do this. Flag on the play, can't do this. Flag on the play, do this. And you say why? And many times it's because of these dumb rules that they've created that keep one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And you're putting out a lot of energy, a lot of effort, but you're not going anywhere. And a lot of that is because there is this belief that, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm unable to do this. Well, I have to do this. It's like you get one life, you better live it. You better enjoy
Yeah.
it. Take the trip, change the class. You mentioned, so much of our life is spent during our career. Think about it. We get 24 hours a day. You spend a third of that sleep. You're going to spend another third of that working.
Hmm.
So you better enjoy that third because it's only one out of three. But
Yeah.
enjoy that third in the work that you're doing, and then enjoy that third in the way that you're living. So I think that's important.
Yeah. I heard this quote a long time ago, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's the devil talks to people that are pursuing their dreams to try and say, no, come back to like
Mhm.
mediocrity and stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
And the ones that are in mediocrity, the devil does not talk to them
Powerful.
and they're unhappy.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's maybe where a lot of people's self doubt comes from is just this little voice in your head saying, probably you just can't do it. Like, just don't do it. Just go
Yep.
back to where it's safe.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Eh,
Absolutely. And safety and success normally aren't in the same place.
Yeah.
Change and comfort normally aren't in the same place. You're
Yeah.
going to have to pick. Both are hard. Pick your hard. Both are going to have difficulties. Pick your difficulty. And that's something that, again, is a lesson that, from a ministry side, business side, no matter what I do, that's a lesson I have to always return to. Both are going to be
Yeah.
hard. Pick your hard. We live in a culture now where people will say, I want a soft life. I want life that's not full of stress, not full of pressure, not full of any of that. And I understand that. But the reality is every choice has a consequence,
Hmm.
whether it be a good, be it bad. And you have to make the decision that I'm going to choose the thing that is going to give me what I want. Sacrifice says, I give up what I want now for what I want most.
Hmm.
Both of those decisions are hard. Choose your heart.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's
Yeah.
great. And I love to kind of like change topics a little bit and
Yeah.
talk to you about why did you choose to be like a bishop over, let's just say, a priest
Yeah.
or something along those lines?
Yeah. Yeah. So, so to kind of give it some context, a bishop is a pastor to pastor. So you think of it like this: every general needs a general, every coach needs a coach, every leader needs a leader.
Yeah.
And so there's ranks within that. A pastor deals with a particular congregation, in that way. I actually didn't pick this. I was selected
Oh.
by a group of bishops who said, "We see the work you're doing. We see your leadership in both business and ministry. And so we think you need to be leading other pastors." I didn't pick it. And I certainly would have picked it when it happened. I was consecrated in my early 20s to
Mm.
be a bishop, which most of the
Wow.
times, bishops, that's like a, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
80s type of thing. So I didn't seek this. I didn't seek a seat or a title or a rank. It sought me. And I think what is powerful about that is back to one of the things you mentioned earlier, that you never know who's watching,
Mm.
you never know who's looking, you never know who is paying attention to the work that you're doing. Remember, I got started at 12, so it wasn't like I was a novice. But at the same time, I was like, I Bishop, like,
At 20.
like at my early 20s, like what, like what is this? But it is one of those things that I am very grateful for, that others saw, recognized, and then and made that you literally selected or elected to do that. So it's not like a thing where you just sign up for it and take some classes and say, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this. It's not that. Like, you have to be, the proper procedure is that others see, others recognize, and they elect or select you to do that, and elevate you in that way. So it was one of those things where I just said, I'm grateful, and I still am to this day.
Yeah.
I am grateful because I think about, wow, what a lesson. What a journey. Like,
Mm.
what a this has been, and like I said, it's just getting started. It's not over. I'm constantly evolving as an individual, as a leader, as a man, every single day. So who I am
Yeah.
tomorrow is going to be better than who I am today.
And Bishop Foreman, how do you like, because I feel like being a bishop then is more on the business side of things. How does business and faith interact with one another? And especially
Mhm.
when you have your other businesses,
Yep.
how do they play a factor in like maybe some of the decisions that you might make?
Oh goodness, let me tell you. For those who, and I think this is such a powerful question, because many times when you think of church, people don't think of the business aspect of church. It's a business. The gospel is free, but to get it to people is not. You've got
Yeah.
staffing, you've got marketing, you've got websites, you've got personnel, you've got music, you've got leaders, you've got staff, you got all of this. That's a business. And if you don't approach business with good business principles, you could be an amazing orator, an amazing speaker, an amazing shepherd or leader of people. But if you don't handle that business, it's going to be a problem. I used to joke with people. I said, Jesus doesn't sign the checks. Now, neither did I, because it was done off site. But my point is that, like, Jesus doesn't sign the checks. Like, this is not, heaven isn't coming down and saying, we're going to give you some extra money for this or whatever, in a philosophical way, but not, literally. Right. And so, I say that to say, for me, again, going back to childhood, Bible in a briefcase, so
Yeah.
spiritual and successful. And some people say, well, those two things don't go together. I totally disagree. Revelation 5:10 says God makes his kings and priests, spiritual and successful, and one man and one woman, two realms, a success side and a spiritual side. And most people have been taught those are enemies. They're not. They're friends. They go together, right? You're successful because of the spirituality. These two things work together. And so I always saw it that way. So when it came to ministry and church, I remember when we started, it was called what's called a parachute plan. So nobody gave us anything. All of the money we used to get started came right out of my pocket.
Really?
And,
Holy cow.
you know, and I'll tell you, it was the industry, the business I mentioned earlier, that industry had collapsed. It totally collapsed. It wasn't just our company, the industry, like literally over the weekend, just was like gone. And so I remember looking at that, and in that experience, I remember saying, okay, you know, what are we going to do? So we get started. All the money's coming out of my pocket. And I bring that up because it's not like when my business was at its zenith at that time. Like that thing was like inverted. It was like at a back. And so I'm like starting a church now. And so I pulled tens of thousands of dollars out of my own pocket. Nobody gave us a dime
Wow.
to get started. And for a while, it looked like that was a bad choice until it didn't. And I was constantly investing, constantly investing into the ministry, constantly making sure that the ministry had what was needed, and often not doing for me to make sure that I did for the ministry of the church. So that's just the facts of it. There's an entrepreneurial grit to it.
Yeah.
Like it takes what it takes, and so you got to do what you got to do, and I did that. And in that, those two things go together: business and handling the business of church. And so all the skills I learned in business, I was able to use in ministry. And I remember when we started, I was driving down the street one day, and I was like, the business side of this was easy to me in terms of how to get things started, what to do,
Mhm.
501(c)(3), all that. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to preach every week? Like, fear hit me because I was like, what am I going to talk about every week? I said, I have to have a message every Sunday. And then once you had a midweek every Wednesday, now I'm like live every single day. But I was like, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to run out of things to talk about. No joke, a fear came over me. I was driving down the street and I was like, wow, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And just to be honest with you, that's the least of what I think about now. Like I got content for days. I got messages for
Which is
days. I got
great.
sermons for days. That's not the issue. It's how do I get it all out in an efficacious way? But you're right. Business and ministry go hand in hand. If you don't handle the business right, you won't be able to ever do the ministry right.
Was there a part then when you were dumping your money into the ministry? Was there ever a part as like, maybe this is just, I'm not cut out to do this aspect? Like, was there a very close second of, I need to shut this down?
Yes, I'll tell you what. Week one. So you spend all this money to get started. You get started, and our launch service was 100 people, which was a big deal. Again, remember Denver, 46 out of 50 for the Lord's church to this nation. So it's not like it was the Bible Belt where you just put out church tonight and people gonna show up because this is what they do. Not there. And the reason it was 100 people is because I got every person from every place I could find to come. I got every singer, every dancer, every mimer, every person I could get to come. Well wishers, the whole nine. So everybody comes. Everybody comes. We do that. Next week it's 7 people. Now, in
Oh,
church planting, the rule is whatever you have week one, you should expect 50% the next week. It was skewed because most of what I had week one were people who went to other churches. So it was not like I was dealing with people who, were looking for what we were doing. And so, you know, but we're moving forward and we're moving forward. We've got this weekly expense of this building. We've got this weekly expense of band and musicians and all of this. And you got the weekly expense, we got to market this thing. And, you got all of these things going on.
yeah.
And remember my business that I built, it was in free fall. The industry was in free fall. So every week I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. But I learned so many powerful lessons. In fact, I put all of those lessons in my first book called Making Money Moves, The Art of Getting Your Finances in Order. I said, God, if you teach me how to get through this, I'll teach everybody else how to do it. Because everybody's going to go through a valley. And we just need a manual how to get through it. So I wrote it. And week two, I was like, should I do this? Then as time progressed, I had opportunities to go to other places. And I was like, maybe I should go to other places. So I started knocking on those doors. Those doors got shut down. And so I'm like, okay, God, I have no other options. This is my only option is to make this work.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I dug in and I said, let's do everything we can do to reach as many people as we can. And I found ways to get it done. I found ways to get it done. I found resources. I got it done. And sometimes when your back's against the wall and you're like, I don't know what to do. Sometimes the thing to do is to lock in and say, I have one option, and that is success. I have one option, and that's victory. But it would happen often where I would be like, "Ah, am I even supposed to be doing this?" And that's the real, right? The real
Yeah.
is if you're not questioning whether or not you should be doing it, you probably shouldn't be doing it because it's not big enough. It's a you size thing, not a God size thing.
Mhm.
It's something that isn't inspiration. It's not big enough to be inspirational. I think the things that we do should both inspire us and scare us at the same time.
Yeah, like I've talked to a few business owners and they've always had the moment of it's either a turn point of I go back now and I
Mhm.
never do this, or
Mhm.
I somehow find a way and
Yep.
keep going. And
Yep.
it's always that point when they become the most successful.
Most
Is that
successful.
which is crazy to think about.
Most
And
successful.
at your lowest of lows, you if you depending on which route you take,
Yep.
will impact kind of the rest of your life.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And so I think, it's that moment where you're at that breaking point where you either break through or you break down.
Yeah.
And that determines the difference with what the rest of your life is. Am I going to break through this or am I going to break down from this?
Oh, 100%. And I love to kind of like give you maybe like a few different like pop-up questions I
Yeah,
had.
let's go. I'm ready.
Uh is there a if you could go back in time to one specific event throughout the Bible, what point would you choose?
Ooh, wow. That no one has ever asked me that question. That is a really, really good question. Um, a lot of people would say the time that Jesus was there. Let me tell you why I wouldn't say that. Then I'm going to give you my answer real fast. I wouldn't say the time that Jesus walked the earth, and here's why. There was such a skepticism, even after people saw the miracles and the things that he did. There was such a skepticism, rightfully so, because they had seen many people pop up and claim these claims. And so a lot of times people look back and say, how come they didn't believe? How they didn't believe? I think most people, if they were alive during that time, would not have believed, would not have would have looked at that and said, "Oh yeah, we'll see how long this lasts." And then once the whole thing happens, you're like, "See, this guy's gone, right?" Um, so I wouldn't say that. I would actually say I would go back further. I would go back to the Exodus, where the Hebrews are exiting 430 years of bondage, and to the day they march out with silver and gold and clothing, and they march out. And here's the faith component: not knowing where they were going, but they knew that they couldn't stay comfortable where they were.
Yeah.
That
That
I'd want to see that.
like just a spectator. I think
Oh
that would
yeah,
be I would love to see Noah's Ark. I think
yeah,
that would be
yeah,
a really cool event and time in
yeah,
history to be in. And
yeah.
also, like speaking of like these different events, what do you see today that shows some resemblance of some of these events that have happened? Whether that's the Exodus walk. Like, is there something where because I think Christianity is one of those religions where you can point to certain things and be
Yep,
like, this did happen. Like,
yeah,
this is a real event.
yeah,
What are
yeah.
some things for people that are unsure or don't know that people can point to and be like, yes, like this did happen in the Bible. Like, you can see this in real life.
Yeah. Um, I think one, you mentioned Noah's Ark. So, like in the mountains of Mount Ararat, if you ever go on a deep dive, you can see there's all these images and all these things where where they see this impression of what appears to be this large ark-like figure. You look at the Exodus, you can see you can see all of those things, all of these historical things that are factual and that happened. And so I think there's tons of things that point to that. I like to go a bit higher level though, in not even just the technical aspect of it.
Yeah.
I even like to go a higher level and say it like this: even if I didn't have a Bible to read, and this is for me, even if I didn't have these stories, which some are very natural and literal, some are very allegorical, some are very philosophical. Even if I didn't have all of that, I could just look at my own life, and when I look at my own life, I can see what for me proves to me that that not only is there God, but He's been looking out for me since I got here, since
Yeah.
before I was here. It is one of those things to where my life is a miracle. And everybody watching and listening, I think if you're honest with yourself, there are things you've gone through, things you've overcome where you have to say, this is a miracle. This is not simply explainable by, oh, it just happened. I
Yeah.
don't personally believe that. I think most people, if they're intellectually honest about that, they'll say there's some things I can't explain. There's some things that have to be ascribed to something bigger and greater than me. And so to me, I love, obviously, I teach from the Bible, but I like to even say, listen, take it a level up
Yeah.
and say, even if I never had any of these stories and never read any of this information, if this was never composed, I could still look and say, but look at my own life. My own life is like a whole book of the Bible that's being written right now.
Yeah, which I think is awesome because I truly do believe everything kind of happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
experiences you go through, like we talked about at the very beginning, it's those pressure points that kind of mold you to the person you are.
Yep.
And the reason I asked that question earlier is because I think for some people, they can be very skeptical. Like it's skeptical to believe in something that you
Yep.
don't know is there.
Yep.
And so finding something that is factual or even like resembles it can show like, oh, there's something greater than just us. There just has
Yeah.
to be.
Has to be. And I think too, 'cause I'm a very fact-based, data-driven person. So I get skepticism. I get saying, okay, well, this and that. But what I did is rather than saying I have to dismiss it, I said, let me dive into it. And I think to those that are like that, where, it is, okay, well, let's just use something like the age of the earth, right? Which is one of those things that, from a scriptural standpoint, from Genesis 1 and 1 verse 3, 5,786 years. People say, well, it's impossible because scientists say this and scientists say this and scientists say this and scientists say this. And I say, okay, well, first of all, one, it's theories, not necessarily, not necessarily fact for many of those things. But let's go here. Built right into the first few verses, there's this chasm of time that most people miss because the way it reads, essentially in the beginning, and it lists out these things, and then it skips, and then the earth comes up from the water, which means that the land had already been created. The earth lifted out of the water. In the hidden in those couple of verses is perhaps millions of years of history. We know that Noah's flood wasn't the first time the earth was flooded, which
Yeah.
explains so many of the different things that people talk about and say, well, what about the ice age? What about this? What about this? I'm like, well, it's all right there. Many times it's just hidden in a way that, think about it. If you and I have not talked about every year of my life on earth. So if somebody listens to this and they say, well, it's not there. Well, no, it's embedded when I said my childhood. That
Mm.
that was a whole lot of time. It's embedded when I said some of the challenges I've gone through in business. It's embedded right there. And I think that's one of those things that often happens in life, and particularly from a biblical standpoint, is many times those questions are actually answered. They're embedded in a way that sometimes doesn't allow. If you're going into it with the sense of I'm dismissing it all, sometimes you won't find it. But if you go into it with the mentality of I'm diving into it, often when you go into those deep dives, you'll discover, man, there's a lot of answers here that make a lot of
Yeah.
sense, and things that answer all of these questions. It's not, they're not competing. Science and Christianity, or science and spirituality, they're not competing with one another. They are completing one another.
And do those deep dives as well also create some differences in the meaning that people get? So is that
Mhm.
why you might have Protestant versus Catholic and then all the branches of Protestant? Like how does that all work
I love that.
of people, so there's Old Testament and New Testament
Mhm.
and the Bible that everyone follows. But how do you
Right.
get those different branches?
Yeah, yeah. Great question. So how we got here was that essentially, and I'm going to oversimplify, thousands of years of history, but how we got here essentially is that the way Christianity was practiced immediately following the days of Jesus and beyond was that there was lots of little movements that were essentially scattered around. You had the Ethiopian Orthodox, you had this, you had that, you had all these different
Hmm.
things that were scattered around. And so, right around 325, you get what's known as the Council of Nicaea, which essentially says we need some standardization here. Um, and it is really if in all honesty, it is really this political move that Constantine, who was the emperor at the time, makes, because they understood that Christianity had been outlawed to be practiced, and when they legalized it, they were legalizing all the practice of all different religions. Right, the Romans had a different god for every different day. The Greeks, so this Greco-Roman mesh of a culture, it depended on where you were and what city you were in and whatever. I mean, they would even make tombs to the god, to the unknown god. Like there was just like we're gonna make a temple for this one, and we're gonna make a statue for this one. Like it was just this pantheon of different beliefs and gods and what have you. And so you fast forward, there is this desire, we've got to have some standardization to this. And so they do what they do to standardize things. As time goes on, you have this break from what is considered the universal church, which today would be referred to as the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And you get this break. Martin Luther, of course, one of the most famous of those who broke, and his 95 theses about, he said, these are all the things that are wrong with the church. They need to do this. And then the problem is when you splinter, there's going to be more splinters and more splinters and more splinters and more splinters. And I won't even say the problem, just the reality is it had become so centralized that it essentially went back to what it was originally, where it was very decentralized.
Hmm.
And I think this is where we're at today. It's very decentralized. So you got this group, you got that group, and a lot of times it's just nuances in certain beliefs. And here's what I'm a big believer in, and this is the responsibility and role of a bishop, is to really be a bridge builder in the sense that there are certain things that's your preference, that's your flavor, that's your desire.
Yeah.
It doesn't make one more right or one wrong than the other. It is a lot of that is just simply based on certain interpretations of certain things and giving certain levels of importance over other levels of importance. So to a person that says it's confusing, well, if you're trying to understand it all, sure, it can be confusing because it's like looking for what's the ultimate right way. Well, see, that's a problem because all of it is some level of this is the way we're approaching it. So what I typically
Yeah.
say to people is, whatever you choose to do, make sure that it's got a biblical basis so that we can say, okay, I see why. Give me the why behind the what. And that becomes how you practice that, how you walk that out, how you live that out. Because at the end of the day, a lot of it too has to do with areas you're in. Like, if you grew up in for example, a liturgical environment, a Roman Catholic type environment, or what have you, if you grew up in that type of environment, you will find yourself you might find yourself gravitating towards that. And then if you grew up in a more Protestant type of environment, you find yourself gravitating to that.
Yeah.
I am what you would call non-denominational. So, out of all the different splintered things, we don't ascribe to any of them. But then non-denominational, then the next word would be charismatic. So I believe in the gifts of the spirit. So not just charismatic in terms of the way I speak or the way I talk, but it's a word that refers to the gifts of the spirit. So
Hmm.
those services are typically very vibrant. They're very energetic. There are, demonstrations. There's prayer. It's lively. It's alive. It's energetic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just because that's the what based on childhood, that's the way we gravitated towards. So I say to everybody and anybody, it can seem overwhelming, but it's not really. It's just like, do you like Five Guys or Burger King or McDonald's or, or Smash Burger? Like they're
Yeah.
all
Like they're all the
serving
same. Yeah.
the same basic thing. A lot
Just
of it boils down to preference.
gotcha. And
Yep.
I think that's a really great way of explaining through it all. And I want to leave you with one last question.
I got it.
What's the hardest lesson that you've had to learn going through your life, or maybe it was ministry school, anything like that? Because I feel like maybe for some people, forgiveness might be really hard. What would you say is yours?
Hmm. I would say this. One of the most difficult lessons for me to learn was that it doesn't matter how good you are to some people, betrayal is inevitable.
Hmm.
Um, if I was to make that a more broad based lesson, it would be this, that People come, people go. Clap when they come, clap when they go. You don't own anybody. All of these things are leases. Marriage, family, friends, these are leases in the sense that they're going to be in your life for a period of time. Some of that may be your whole lifetime, but even that's not forever. Some may be a year, some may be 5 years, some may be 10 years. It was that because I always viewed things through loyalty. Because again, let's go back to my childhood. It was this protector and this paternal figure and very parentified. So for me, everything was always in the lenses of protect, 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 love, loyalty. If I say I got you, I got you. Take that to the bank, it cashes. Put it on a sticky note, take it to a bank, they'll cash that check. If I said it. And I had to learn that life, it's filled with transitions. And sometimes you can love people and those people won't necessarily remain in your life. Why is that such an important lesson? Because everything in life is people. And the faster and sooner you learn how to adjust to living and dealing with people, the higher quality of life you'll have. Treat everything like a lease, enjoy it while you have it, and realize that it might not always be there. And when you do that, it's not being cynical. It's quite the opposite. It's making you maximize your moments and maximize your time. That was difficult for me to learn.
And it goes back to that mindset because some people might take that as like, oh, if people are just temporary. But if you can change the mindset of maximizing that time, it'll go much further.
Exactly. You got it.
Well, thank you, Bishop Foreman. I really do appreciate you being on the show today. It means a lot. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and wish you many more successes.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And let me just say this if I can real fast.
Yeah.
If something was said today that encouraged anybody listening, anybody watching, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM on my social media at Bishop Foreman. I'd love to hear from you. I always like reading them. I get hundreds of messages to this, but I actually respond. It takes me some time, but I actually respond. And for your audience, we want to just give them something. If they text the word Bishop to the phone number 55498, we actually want to give them something. We want to give them a discount off of all of our books, all of our products, all of that.
Awesome.
We'll shoot that text. We'll get it to them. Everywhere I go, I like to sow. So I want to sow into your audience. Again, if they text the word Bishop to 55498, we can do that. Or they can just go check out Bishop Foreman, FOREMAN.com. But appreciate it. You've asked some amazing questions and much continued success to you.
Thanks, Bishop. And I'll put that down low in the description for everyone as well. So
Perfect.
Works great. Thank you.
Love it.
Hey, everyone. Want to take a quick second and say thank you to whoever listened to the episode today. I really do appreciate it and it means a lot. If you did like the episode, make sure to give it a like or 5-star rating depending on what platform you are listening to. And if you really want to support the show, check out our website or Patreon link below. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next episode.